Again, Alex? Again?
For my Daniel Ricciardo vendetta, I personally do not feel like he should be in that car.
Maybe you just got to get out of that relationship because it's not good for you and you need to recover and work on you.
Welcome to Wheel It Up, where three black women talk all things Formula One. It's not our normal lineup this week, but it is me and Chanise.
Hi everyone, Chanise and Simone here. Super excited to be back. Another, I would say, quite exciting race again. I don't know. In fact, the first couple weren't too exciting, but the last race in this one, I was a bit pumped for afterwards. So I'm excited to talk about the Suzuka track.
It was a fun race. It was Japan race, so we're 4 races in to this season, and this race actually did not disappoint. Although it was a very early one, there was a lot that happened. Lots of interesting incidents, maybe some predictable outcomes, but we'll get into that. Anyway, we are joined by a guest today, Paris. Paris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody. So I'm Paris, as you know, and basically I've been a long-term Formula One fan, I'd say for about 20 years now, probably giving away my age a little bit there. And I used to have a YouTube channel with one of my friends. I used to do a lot of Formula One commentary myself, really similar to the girls here. And I still love Formula One and dabble every so often. So happy to be a part of this conversation, discussing the Japanese Grand Prix today. I agree, it was probably so far my favorite race of the season because it actually had a lot of overtaking. There was a lot of strategy. So there was a lot to get into. And compared to maybe some of the other races, I didn't mind so much when I woke up at crazy o'clock this morning and I was like, oh cool, I can actually I happened to wake up at the right time, so I can watch a few laps of this, and it wasn't too boring.
I'm glad you felt that, Paris, because when I saw that there was a red flag, which I'm sure we'll get into any moment, I did think Simone might be vexed here because we had this whole conversation about she keeps waking up early for these races and something happens.
She's right. I wasn't too happy, but only because I did wake up at 5:30, had a shower, got myself ready. But because I had work and I was starting work at like 8 o'clock, so I was like, I might as well get up for the race, watch it before I go to work. And when I saw the red flag, I was like, this is delaying my whole process of getting ready, of like getting out the hotel room, because I was like, I'm gonna get down for breakfast, maybe around say 7:20. That was enough time, I think, for this race to have been done, because it was only like what 50 something laps. It wasn't even that long. I was like, hurry up. This red flag took a while. And I was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, as we're on the topic of red flag, let's get into what happened. Actually, Shanice, did you wake up for this?
Girl, I didn't wake up for this. I had that thing on record. I am not waking up. And you know what it was? I've learned from Simone, the master of waking up early for these races, and every time something pops off. So no, I did not wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., whatever time I was supposed to be. And you know what's quite funny, actually? My boyfriend's mom was going on holiday and she was getting picked up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And she says, oh, Chanise, if you want, I'll wake you up when I'm leaving so you can watch the race. Absolutely not. I've got that shit on record. So no, I woke up at a normal time and I watched it leisurely throughout the day while I was making my nice lunch and sitting down, and I paused it for a minute, popped to Tesco, came back,
Oh my
carried on
God.
eating tuna and sweet corn. I was just enjoying my Sunday watching Formula One without feeling stressed out. The only time I got stressed was when I was really into the race and thought, oh God, I haven't made any notes. So then I was like, okay, let me go make some notes.
Wow. This was actually quite a good one, actually. I will say I wasn't as excited as Australia in the end. I guess that was because of the result, but this race actually was quite good. So lap 1, we start off with a bang. We start off with Daniel Ricciardo.
Literal bang.
Yeah. A literal bang of Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon crashing. And immediately when this happened, I thought, again, Alex? Again? Paris, what were you thinking when you were watching it?
I thought 2 things. I was like, it would be Daniel Ricciardo. Like, as well as Alex, because right now, I'm not going to lie, I'm on my Daniel Ricciardo vendetta. I personally do not feel like he should be in that car. I feel like he has spent a long time kind of chasing the F1 dream a little bit. And I think he is one of the people on the grid that could be making space for a younger driver. And that's not to say that he wasn't a great driver. He didn't have his time. He made a series of bad choices. He left Renault at the wrong time. He left Red Bull at the wrong time, went to Renault, left Renault at the wrong time, went to McLaren, left McLaren at the wrong time. Now look where he is, right? I just feel like he made a series of bad choices and he keeps making them because he ended up in a wall today. And he ends up in a wall today because he tried to be on the racing line and Alex Albon chipped into the back of him. And between the two of them, I usually really like Alex, but I've been quite disappointed after the whole Australia saga. I feel really bad for Williams and all their engineers that are going to have to be dealing with another broken chassis over the next couple of weeks. So
bear in mind they don't even have a spare one.
Exactly. I feel like that was just all around bad vibes. Like, not happy with either of them.
Daniel Ricciardo is like, he's like that person, that man or that woman that always ends up in a bad relationship because they keep choosing the wrong partner. And you're not learning from your last mistake. You're not learning from your last relationship. It didn't work out there. Oh, let me just analyze what happened. What didn't work in that relationship? Is it me? At some point, you've got to think, is it me? Because you're the common denominator here. Like, it's not working because it's you.
Or to Paris's previous point, maybe he just needs to leave, Maybe you just got to get out of that relationship because it's not good for you and you need to recover and work on you.
Yeah.
I feel like America loves him. Indy, NASCAR. I feel like he would do great over there.
That's a good point, though. He could actually go to like a different sort of motorsport because people would definitely take him and he could drive the cars.
You said that, so, like, he can drive. We know he can drive. And
at the moment, you kind of look at him like, can you drive? Can you drive?
Have you passed your tests?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I think Paris for me hit the absolute nail on the head. He's taking up space, but also he's just been chasing this dream for such a long time. It's kind of like, it might not happen for you. I feel like there's certain motorsports that just happens to. I felt the same thing with Sam Bird in Formula E, although he got a win like a couple of weeks ago. But I did feel the same thing about him, even though you love these people so much, but also sometimes you love them so much that you actually want them to make a better decision, and i.e. just leave, and it's okay, and everyone still loves you, and it's all good.
I do feel sorry for Williams.
That's where I'm at with it.
And I do feel sorry for Williams in that sense because they have got so much work to do. Like, it's always work. It's always like, we have to fix the car. We have to fix the car. How many times is someone going to keep fixing the car? Last time, Alex crashed on the weekend, and that meant that on Sunday, like, Logan had to give up his car. Like, he didn't have a car. Like, you took it, you crashed, and he had to drive, and he had to give up his car. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And then this week, on the opening lap, you crash. Oh my God, we're just getting from bad to worse.
As an Alex Albon fan, I will just quickly step in here and say exactly what I said on the last episode is that the only reason Logan Sargent had to give up his car was because he's not the better driver. Having said that, Alex has had a couple of bad weeks, but that's fine. If Logan was a better driver, he wouldn't have been giving up his car. I'm just saying. But yeah, Simone, your point still stands. Poor Williams. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do now because they've only got they've got two chassis, but I don't know how that even goes into like repairing that sort of thing now. Do you know? Like,
I guess it depends on the extent of the damage, because if it is repairable, I assume that he's still driving Logan's original chassis, because if that is the better chassis, this is an assumption. I actually don't know the answer to this, and it would be a good thing to find out. But if he kept Logan's chassis, even though they probably repaired the old one, but I'm guessing, considering the amount of damage, it was probably the more damaged chassis. So yeah, it depends what the level of damage was this week. But I was thinking as well, what would you do in that scenario? Like, what could he have done better? Because for Ricciardo, from the onboard, you could see that he really couldn't see Alex coming up behind him. Like, to get into the mechanics of the actual crash, like, as much as I'm really disappointed in both of them, and I'm not taking that sentence back, but
yeah,
like, to get into the yeah, exactly, to get into the mechanics of it, like, Daniel was moving over and couldn't probably see Albon behind him. Alex is coming up to him and possibly could have braked, but at the same time was probably coming up too fast. You know, it was just a racing incident. It's just really unfortunate that it was the two of them in a racing incident.
There was talk at one point as well, where they were trying to see, is Lance Stroll involved? You know, could it have even been his fault? Is he squeezing 3 cars into one? It doesn't work. But, you know, it's just one of those things where they actually said, oh, it was just a driver incident, etc. And I feel like maybe it's one of those things that possibly couldn't have been prevented, because if Alex has got to move over, is he then going off the track? Or do you know what I mean? I'm just thinking that maybe he didn't want to take that sort of damage or risk that, or if he broke and there's someone right behind him, will that have caused the crash that way? So there's just so much to think about in like 0.1 seconds that it's hard, isn't it?
But to wrap that situation up, I'm actually sick of seeing Daniel Ricciardo and an incident. I'm at a point now where I'm just like, I'm sick of hearing it, and I'm sick of seeing it. It's like, oh my God, like it's one thing after another with him. Following that though, I didn't actually make that much more notes on what on any huge things that happened in the race. Like apart from that, the Sauber, one thing, sorry, Paris, that we wanted to talk about is also the Sauber stops, as in like Bottas pit stops are an absolute joke. Yes, they've got
no matter which team he's in, he seems to struggle with pit stops.
It's like this guy can't catch a break. Like the pit stops are getting terrible. This week they weren't as bad. They were a little bit faster, but they're nowhere near what they actually should be. Like for an F1 team, like you actually need to go and do some work experience with Red Bull on your pit stops, because they need to be getting progressively faster, because they're just really, really bad. And I was just like, what is happening here? Like, and then later on in the race, Zoe went out of the race. And I was like, flipping out. So that was like lap 14, I think he went out. And
Can I just say, do you know why? I should have researched this before we did this, but do you know why he went out? Because I you know how I was watching it very leisurely. I was focused, but it wasn't until lap 43, and I actually made a note of this, where I looked down the pack, like on the screen, and I went, hang on a minute, you, where the hell did he go? I didn't even realize he was out. I was like, what's been going on for? Like, he's so like he's so like not there in my mind. Kind of like how Lance Stroll is for like Simone and Anita. They're forgetting he's there. I'm forgetting about him, and I didn't even realize he was out of the race until like lap 43. I couldn't believe it. Did they even cover it? Did they say why?
I don't think they really commented on it at all. Like, because I had a similar thing where I was just looking and I was like, oh, he's out. I didn't see any commentary on it, and I didn't have access to onboards and stuff to like watch it. Usually sometimes I'll watch with F1 TV below so I can see like timings and red flags and yellow flags, but I wasn't doing that obviously today because it was at random times, and I was watching as I explained before recording, I watched it like 3 times randomly. So I didn't have all my notes like I normally do. But I find like I have a really similar thing with Magnussen, Hulkenberg,
forget it.
Joe, and Lance Stroll and Sargent. Like those 6 drivers may as well not be on the grid for me, because they are never mentioned. I think Magnussen got mentioned like once today for the first time all year, and like they never, nobody pays attention to them. Like I genuinely think Steak, Sauber, F1, whatever you want to call themselves now,
I call them steak and chips.
Steak and chips are on the grid for shits and gigs. Like I don't understand what they're doing there. You can't even do a pit stop. Like,
terrible.
Come on, so just constantly at the bottom. I don't know. I not interested at all.
Yeah, that's another team that just make terrible decisions. Terrible decisions, but they've been doing that for a long time. So can we expect any more? I don't know.
Now that they've changed team principal, possibly.
Well, possibly, but I didn't even realize at one point that they changed team principal, because they were still so bad. It was only the other day, well, not the other day, it was a few weeks ago, when I was seeing Gunther do reports on F1, and I was thinking, where did it come from? And I had to go and do like a whole like research thing. I was like, how did I miss this? This was like massive fucking news. This was big news, and I'm always talking about him. So how the hell did I miss this?
I don't know how you did miss it, to be fair, because I think everyone knew that he'd gone. He'd gone.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I honestly don't. It was only when I saw him like a few weeks ago reporting on F1, I was like, no, how did I miss that he got sacked? So yeah, but that was jokes, and I'm just loving that he's now a little personality in F1, because that was the best thing about Drive to Survive anyway.
I totally agree. And I think he wrote a book around the same time as well. So if I ever get my hands on it, I'll have a skim through it and see what he's got to say for himself.
I don't think it's a book I want to read, to be honest. I can't.
Like I said, a skim. I'm not going to buy it.
She said, if someone else has got it, I'll look through it.
Definitely.
Well, I won't really. I get you. Another thing that I spotted this morning, which I was a lot of teams, well, like I said, a few teams got it on point, was their strategies. Obviously, Red Bull always have their strategy on point. I think Ferrari are starting to learn their strategies a little bit better. They're starting to get it together this season. You know, we're not on strategy H, G, J, like we're starting to get like the strategies better. And one thing that I couldn't wrap my head around was how Charles Leclerc was doing like lap 25, 26 on some old ass tires. And I was like, are you gonna change your tires anytime soon? Like, what's happening here?
I think there was still a little bit of hesitation in the teams to try and get the tire strategy and the two-stop strategy right. Like there was a lot of moments early where they were like, should we pit now or should we wait later and have a one-stop versus a two-stop strategy? Yeah. And I think for Ferrari, their answer to that was to obviously do one strategy with one driver and the other strategy with the other driver. That's one of the things I loved about this race, though, was that there was that kind of strategy, because I feel like we haven't really had that a lot in Formula One in recent races, in maybe I want to say like the last 9 or 10 races even. Like there's been a lot less of those kind of strategy moments, and especially in seasons where there's not that much the cars can do to kind of pull themselves ahead, and like no one's really competing with like Max Verstappen and stuff like that. So to have that, exactly, he just takes it whenever he wants. So to have strategy playing a part, to have especially like tire strategy and pit stop strategy, not just one or the other, really playing a part in the race, that made it more interesting for me personally.
I know the track to start was quite hot. The temperatures were quite hot, and a few drivers were on hard tires. I think Mercedes, after the red flag, they changed to hard tires, and they were on those hards for a while. And I think they were thinking these hard tires might come in, and then Lewis was like, "What on earth is happening?" Lewis was there like, "What is happening here? Like, what is happening with this car, with this situation?" I genuinely wanted to laugh, but then I was like, "Oh, poor babes! Like, it's just not happening." I think everyone saw like the medium tires were obviously the best for everybody in the race anyway. Like they just worked wonders for everyone else.
There's a couple of things for me just on what you've both said. Firstly, I was really worried about everyone's one strategy and two tires after that red flag, because I was thinking, this is it, everyone's going to change strategy, everyone panic, oh my god, what's going to happen now? So that was the first thing where I was thinking, oh my god, what if Carlos Sainz doesn't get a podium? There was that, but then also when I saw like how good Ferrari was doing, I just thought, you know what, they're just preparing for Lewis's arrival. This is why they're getting their shit together. They're getting themselves together. They're getting their stuff on lock. They're getting right, because they know next year they're going to bring it. They better have those pit stops right. They better have the strategy right. And they better have the damn car right too, because they're going to have the right driver. So that's going to be really exciting. Somebody the other day said that I'm dreaming big for Lewis to have his 8th World Championship in Ferrari. I think that could be a thing. I don't think that's dreaming big. I think that could hopefully be a thing. But yeah, I also made a note that on lap 41, it has nothing to do with the lap. I just happened to make a note at that lap, and I said the strategy for Carlos Sainz this week banged. When they said they're going for a podium, I got so hyped. And considering, I think he started fourth, I think, on the restart. So yeah, getting on the podium for me, I was super happy. And Simone also. It wasn't even about Charles Leclerc and the old tyres for me. It was about how he managed to just do a one pit stop strategy in the first place, and why this was even a thing. Because I was thinking this is going to be a disaster. We've seen Ferrari so many times do terrible decisions like this. It's going to be a disaster. And when they pulled it out of the back, I was thinking, what is going on here? I was hyped, man. Ferrari.
They're definitely learning. They're learning, and I'm loving it for them.
I think having two consistent drivers makes such a big difference as well. Like, you know that regardless of what you do, your driver's going to pull it off. Like, you know, last year, Carlos was basically the strategist of that team. And Charles just has, like, tons of natural talent. So, you know, they're lucky that they do have drivers that can pull that stuff off. Personally, I found it really interesting that I think it was Crofty. No, it wasn't. It was Ant Davidson. Was like, oh, both drivers, you know, they're equally as good as each. Like, he was kind of making a point that they're equally as good as each other. And what I didn't like about that was sometimes let Carlos shine. Like, Carlos did amazingly well. So I was a little bit disappointed that he couldn't just give Carlos his flowers without taking a bit of the shine away and kind of making a point that had Charles been on a different strategy. He wasn't. At the end of the day, he wasn't on a different strategy. And Carlos overtook him, and they had a couple of rounds of, you know, a little bit of back and forth. Yes, obviously, Charles was on older tyres, but they still drove. They still could have hit each other. They still could have, like, there's so many things that could have happened that didn't. And Charles and Carlos, or Carlos has to be in the position to get on the podium. If he was, you know, back in the day or last year when Perez wasn't consistently coming second, Perez was nowhere to be seen. If you're not, even if you have the best car, if you're not up there, you can't make the most of the scenarios. You can't make the most of the situation. So just give Carlos his flowers because he did well. That's it.
Absolutely. And you know what else I liked? That there was no question that Carlos was on the podium. It was just like he's the one who's fighting for the podium here. There was no question about it, no doubt. Even more so why he just deserves the flowers and let it run.
I love this I love this for him. Considering he's unemployed next year, I really do like it for him. And the fact that he keeps reminding people, I ain't got a job next year, but look what I'm doing.
I would love to see Carlos Sainz take Perez's seat. Oh my God, Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull. Yo!
I'm not going to lie. I want Alonso in that seat.
My God.
I want the chaos. I want Red Bull's downfall more than I want my own Ferrari. Like, I want Red Bull's downfall. And I know that if you plant that seed,
that's spicy.
Alonso doesn't have anything else in him but to give it his all, right? And if you put him in a championship winning car, he's going to go for the championship. And I just see kamikaze battling each other every week. I would love it. Do all of that and let my guys in Ferrari come up there. I just want to see Charles and Lewis exchanging podiums after podiums next year. And I feel like that will happen if Alonso and Max are in the same team.
Imagine it's chaos.
You can't have two top dogs. You can't have two number one drivers. And you're right, actually, the person who would be fighting that a lot is Alonso. Oh man.
Yeah, it'd be actually wild to even picture that. Oh my word.
I think Carlos can go to Aston. Like, I feel like he'd do well in Aston.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd do as well as he would in a better car. Like, I don't know, like I remember at the start of last season, Lance Stroll and Alonso actually were both doing really well in the Aston Martin to start with. And then it all kind of just went a bit down. I don't know if people got a bit tired or what. I don't want that for Carlos. I feel like he deserves his moment. I feel like Perez deserved a moment and then got the moment, but then didn't really carry it through. I feel like Carlos deserves a moment, you know?
But then do you guys think then that if Carlos was in the Red Bull that he would fight for championship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I do. I think the big dog has come out of him now.
Yeah.
It has, but I still think that Carlos, he's too much of a gentleman.
Yeah, he might be another Perez. Yeah, he might be
Do
another
you know what I
person.
mean? That's why I say Alonso's gonna go there and he's gonna cause a ruckus. My man's
Yeah.
gonna throw chairs. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know,
yeah. He's
but
gonna
like
flip tables.
he's
He
flipping
would
Yeah.
he will flip
tables.
tables, but I think Carlos does want championship. I think he has that in him. I think I see that for him. But I've said this before. What Carlos is doing this season, right, is exactly what Daniel Ricciardo should have been doing. You
Yeah.
know that you are possibly like Carlos is unemployed. I don't know what's happening with Daniel. You're possibly going to be employed too, because really, come on, who's going to keep you? So you really should be doing what Carlos is doing and trying to show people that you still got it, but instead you're crashing.
I don't know. Carlos could also go to Mercedes though. Carlos and George.
Yeah, that could be a nice little thing. Who would be the number one driver in that team?
I think George would
George
take it.
thinks he's the number one
Yeah.
driver, so we'll let him think he's the one driver. But the class and gentlemanliness that he thinks he has, Carlos has it in buckets and spades.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we know who would be the real driver.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually, because George and his strategies.
Right. We haven't even got time to talk about George and his stupid strategies. Jesus. Oh, is that rain? Oh, no, no, it's sweat. That's sweat on your your helmet. Oh
I
my.
don't even want to say too much to hurt him today because I actually think he drove really well today.
I mean, he did some good overtakes.
He did. I just say because I haven't been on a podcast in a while, so I haven't been able to like say this kind of thing. I saw George Russell in Monaco last week.
Oh, I saw you went to Monaco, and I was thinking, I wonder if she might bump into anyone.
No, I really did. Okay, picture this. Walking along in Monaco, just been like walking past all the setups for the Monaco Grand Prix and everything. And I see a guy and a girl who look just like so much like George and Carmen. Carmen's his girlfriend if you don't follow her. And in my head, I was there for the bank holiday weekend, and
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
on
only
bank
a few
holiday.
days after Australia, right?
Mhm.
So I think we were there on Friday. Obviously, Australia like was just the weekend before, and I was thinking, no, he can't have got from obviously there's planes, but he can't have got from Australia to Monaco to go back to Japan. Like that in my head didn't make any sense. I was
Because
like,
look
it
how close
wasn't
it
him.
is.
Literally, like, why would you? That's carbon emissions and mileage that you shouldn't be doing, but whatever. And then, so in my head, I was like, no, that's not him. So I let them walk past, and I just dismissed it completely. And then I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, I'm sure that was George Russell and his girlfriend, but it can't have been them because they're in Australia and they're going to Japan. Why would they be in Monaco? 2 seconds later, Carmen's like posting all over Instagram, and then George is posting saying, I had fun in Monaco. And I was like, it was them. And I missed my opportunity to like say hello.
Oh my God, because I was about to ask you details. I was going to like, is he tall?
He's super tall and she's really petite. And that was actually what caught my eye first. And I was like, oh, like cute couple. And I was like, oh. But it, you know, when you see something that you know is true and then you don't believe your own eyes,
Yeah.
that's basically what happened.
Man, did they have
Believe your
sunglasses
eyes.
on?
Believe your eyes.
Yeah, did they have like sunglasses on? So like in half
Yes.
disguise? Oh yeah, because that
No, not too much disguised though. They were walking hand in hand, like just along one of the boulevards, and he had like this really cool coat on, and she had like a cute outfit. I can't really remember exactly what it was, but it was like creamy, I think.
Did you have
And
chinos
he
on?
just had no, he didn't. I don't think he had chinos on. I think he was wearing jeans. By the time I like proper got a good look at his outfit, he was already walking past me. So I more saw like the coat and stuff, and then he had like his hair. His hair is like perfectly, immaculately coiffed. And then yeah, I was just like, no way. It was more of a shock. And then my boyfriend, I was like telling my boyfriend, and my boyfriend was like, why didn't you go and run up to them? And then by then I didn't believe it was them, so I didn't run up to them.
I would have just been like, you know, you two look like George and Carmen. Oh, we are. Like, get sweat on.
Could you
Definitely
imagine
should have done
saying
that.
to them, and then you're like, oh, whoops. It's actually them. And then they're like, no, that is who we are.
No,
Oh,
that is us. That is us. We
real.
are them.
Yeah, because it would have been more
Yeah.
embarrassing if they genuinely didn't realize, and then they were like, oh no, that and yeah.
It was really surreal because they were literally just strolling along, like I guess going to the next coffee shop or whatever they were going to. And apparently, if you do live in Monaco is not very big. Like I don't know if you guys know London very well, but it's like the size of like Wembley, I want to say. Like it's really
Yeah, I've heard it's really
like,
small, but they go there for peace and quiet.
yeah. So it was quite cool. I
And
really
you know
enjoyed
what?
that.
They're just normal people like anyone else. So why wouldn't they be
Exactly.
walking down the street to grab a coffee or a tea or whatever?
Yeah.
Should have stayed at home.
Paris, I'll come to you first. Who was your should have stayed at home?
My should have stayed at home was definitely Daniel Ricciardo. And Alex Albon as well. I'm gonna give them a should have stayed at home together because they didn't even make it past lap 1 of the race.
Fair. Chanise, who is yours?
Mine was also actually Daniel, but I couldn't remember if he was mine last week, so I didn't know whether to change. I was like, nah, man. If he should have stayed at home, he should have stayed at home. You can't do anything about it. So mine was actually also Daniel. For many reasons, I've always stated on this pod for a long time now, so I won't even bother going into details. But you know my opinions on Daniel Ricciardo, as much as I love his personality.
Mine was Williams. The whole team of Williams, I think should have stayed at home. I think they should have stayed at home. I think they shouldn't have come to Australia, and they also shouldn't have come to Japan. Like you basically should have stayed at home for like 3 weeks, because it's just been one bad thing after another. Two races in a row, Alex has crashed. It's cost the team points. Like it's just ridiculous. So those are my should have stayed
I mean,
home.
has it cost them points? Would they have even got points in anyway? Like,
Because Alex
Paris,
was
it's cost them money.
That's one thing for sure. He has cost them lots of money that they don't have.
money and chassis, so which
That
they
they
also
don't have. Because
yeah.
who starts a season just with 2? Not even. Let's get a spare.
But that could have been the money issue, though. They might not have been able to afford to. Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm still interested in where James Vowles takes the team. I've watched a lot of his interviews recently, or at least 2 of his interviews. I don't know if he's done any more. And he seems to have a very strong vision of where he wants to take the team. He really wants to upgrade everything. I don't think they will be in the same position next year if they can get to a point where they make a bit of money this year.
Do you not think, though, that they couldn't? I mean, Logan Sargent hasn't really done much for the team. Like, and even this week, right? Did you see when he actually steered off the track and had to reverse back on? It was around that 43.
That's why I was like, you should have stayed at home, because that put you at the back of the pack.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was doing okay. He wasn't doing amazing, but he was doing okay. And then I just saw his name going down the list. What the hell's going on? Oh, he's driven off the track. Rookie error, silly mistake. Can't be making mistakes like that if you're going to be trying to go for points or get money. And I don't think I'm going to put his name together now. Logan Sargent should be there. I do believe, minus the crashes, that Alex could do it. He has been trying, and he had been doing okay apart from the last couple of weeks. But I just, a whole year last season, Logan Sargent didn't perform very well. Nick De Vries didn't even last 6 months. This guy's still here.
And then if you compare him to Piastri, who is younger, who obviously has gone into a better car, but like Piastri is, I really love Piastri. I think he, for me, is like my favorite young driver. I think he has such a good aura about him, and the way he drives and the way he carries himself on and off the track. I think he is really great. Like, he did some overtakes today as well. He got overtaken as well, but he did the overtake on Lewis. Obviously, Lewis's tires were not in the right position, but just like, because I was a bit hurt when like Perez overtook him and they were celebrating, and I was like, his tires are bad. But like, I think there's a caliber of driver that should be allowed into F1, and Logan Sargent isn't it.
Nah, it just isn't it for me. And I do like Oscar. I think he looks like an intelligent driver. Like, you can tell, like he's got the smarts about him, which I think is really good. It's going to do him really well for the
And
future.
did you know he can read Japanese?
Well, goddamn. Told you
I know, it was so cute. Oh, I love him. I think he's such a sweet. He can read Japanese, yeah.
But like, can he speak Japanese as well, or can he just read it?
I guess in order to like know what you're reading, you have to know those words
true.
English.
You have to translate it. Because you can read a language but not necessarily speak it, but you still need to understand what the words are.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because obviously like pronunciation will be different, but yeah, you still need to understand what he's saying. Wow.
I don't know why though. I didn't get the backs. I missed the beginning of the segment. I think it was with Natalie Pinkman or Rachel Brooks, and I was watching it the other day, one of the days with they were doing free practice, and basically they had a bunch of cards, and it was like race car, but like written in Japanese, and he was like proper sounding out the alphabet, and he's like, I know that says car, and some of the words in Japanese are anglicized. I can't remember. There's a particular Japanese name for it, and basically it would be like World Championship, and he's like, that says do champ, and then he's like, yeah, exactly, what is it, and then he was getting it like that, so it was quite cute. So,
Wow.
he's such a good guy.
I bet a lot of them are quite smart, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? Because they've all had to travel the world, and I bet a lot of them can speak like different languages and things like that, and I want to use the word cultured, but I don't mean it like how some people might think I mean it. I just mean like they've got a lot of experience across the globe.
Yeah, he's only 21 as well, and that's why I think I rated it highly of him, because clearly, he's done a lot, and he was basically saying he lived out of Australia for like 8 years while he's been learning all of his motorsport stuff. So I don't know. I think if you're going to bring a rookie into Formula One, they have to be of a good level, and I think Oscar Piastri is of that level.
He was your star boy.
This is my favorite bit, the star boy, when we finally get to give people flowers and be nice, because sometimes we are a bit like, oh, that was terrible, So my star boy, I wonder if this will surprise you actually. My star boy is actually Charles Leclerc, only because my star boy, so last week my star boy was Carlos Sainz. And I could have gone again for Carlos Sainz. I really could have, or it could just be Ferrari overall, to be fair. I could have maybe just give Ferrari in general their flowers, but I feel like I need to see a bit more of them first before I say, right, team, you are having my star boy.
I got 1-2 last race.
Yeah, no, I need to be more consistent. I need to make sure that when Lewis gets there, he's in safe hands. I need consistency. 2 races isn't enough, because look at Alex Albon. Alex Albon's crashed for 2 weeks. I'm not going to completely write him off for the season. If he's consistent, then I will. But I need a couple, maybe one more, maybe 2.
Well, he's crashed in Japan before, as in Alex Albon, so he's consistent with that.
But I mean, like weeks in a row. I mean, I need to see it like that. But I'm choosing Charles Leclerc mainly because I cannot believe that he managed to pull off a 1 pit stop strategy. I just can't believe it. I just genuinely, when they said they were doing a 1 pit stop, I honestly thought they were absolutely ridiculous. I thought they were being stupid, out of order. What's going on? The fact they managed to pull it off, I honestly thought that was a brilliant drive to pull it off.
You know who used to do that sometimes? Daniel Ricciardo, back in the day when he was at Renault, and some races, I remember like he changed his tires once. I'm like, how have you gone this long on 1 set of tires? But that was the old Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, that's sad. This section's about positivity, man.
Sorry, I had to bring it up. Paris, who was your star boy of the race?
My star boy was my little other favorite, Yuki Tsunoda. He
really good point. We haven't spoken about him, and we should have. Paris, take the reins.
So I obviously think he is washing Daniel Ricciardo, and I cannot wait to see him. Do you know why? Yeah, every season people underestimate Yuki, and it really upsets me because one, we know that when he was brought in, people were like, you're only in here because like of the Honda connection. And whilst that may be very true, like he genuinely was a fast driver in all of his like karting championships and stuff like that. And I think he was in Japan Formula 3. And he literally is a fast driver. He's just a very unorthodox driver. And people get angry with him because he swears a lot and he does this and does that. Like if you watch Yuki, his growth has been very good. Like he's really put in effort and energy into. He was even saying like I'm trying to be calmer. Like I'm trying to just see like where I can be better and all this kind of stuff. Like he's becoming self-aware, and he is still quite young. And obviously, this is his 4th year in F1. So I think now you can really see his growth and his experience. And I still feel like people really underestimate him on track. Like he
Mhm.
consistently is like either close to the top 10, in the top 10, or just outside of the top 10. He's always like in that kind of bracket when he's driving. He's beat all of his most recent teammates. So I just feel like people need to put some respect on his name. And I give him my star boy because for the first time at his home race, he got points. So points, I think in 9th or 10th, but he got 8 points.
He was
and I'm
10th.
really
I
happy
think
with
I
him.
think he got the last of those points, which was I was so happy for him. I was so
Mhm.
happy for him.
Yeah, all valid reasons for him to be a star boy. Absolutely. I cannot believe we almost forgot actually to talk about him, because I remember for one of our TikToks that we did this week, for the explainer, the track explainer, I remember saying on there, oh, you know, no Japanese drivers ever won their home race. And I'm really looking forward to when that day comes or whatever. And you know what? I think getting points for me, Yuki Tsunoda, that was nice enough. I can settle for that.
I really enjoyed watching him this race, and he said something on the radio when he did a pit stop, and he was like, "Oh, that was a really good pit stop, boys. Thank you." But I couldn't tell whether he'd be sarcastic. I was like, "Is he being?" I thought he was like, "That was really good." I said, like, "Yeah, whatever." I couldn't tell when he was being sarcastic, but he actually meant that was pretty good, actually.
Oh, it's nice when like the drivers are humble but also give like the team their flowers too. Yeah, I like a bit of team camaraderie, a bit of, you know, yeah, just nice moments when the drivers help each other out or when they thank their teams and things. Lewis is quite good at doing that actually, apart from this week when he was telling them off about the strategy and we need to change it.
Exactly, but he did ask, shall me and George switch positions? Because obviously George was faster than him, and they ended up switching positions. So he is nice.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter actually. People were like, I hope George remembers that Lewis did that for him. I don't know.
No, I don't think he will. He'll just be like,
Well,
oh, I was the faster car though. That's how it should have been done.
Yeah.
As much as I do love George.
well, Paris, next time if you see him in Monaco next time, you better say to him, listen, you remember what Lewis did
Yep.
for you, yeah?
Yeah.
Want to see it back,
Positions.
given tenfold.
My star boy was Carlos. I think Carlos had a brilliant race, and the fact that he got on a podium, not that it was impossible, but I rate it. This guy came out of was it appendix surgery? And since then, he has just been smashing it. And I'm just like, you left that hospital. I don't know what prayers were said in the hospital, but my God, they worked. So yeah, I think he had a really decent race. It was good to see him on podium. Like I said, I think Ferrari got the strategy right this weekend for them. But also it does help that they have a good car, and they are proving like we're the second fastest. We're the second fastest car on this grid, and we are showing you how and why. And they've done that 2 weeks in a row.
I just hope it continues, because I've been fooled by this before. I can't remember if it was the start of last season or the start of the season before, but I remember Ferrari starting really well. And I was like, man, this is my team. I told you. Anyway, about halfway into the season, I don't know what the hell happened, but they were terrible. And that's what I'm saying about consistency. I need to see it delivered at least 3 weeks in a row, because I've been fooled many a time by Ferrari at the start of the season.
Are you guys team followers or driver followers?
Maybe a bit
Well,
of both.
originally, so I grew up a Ferrari fan. So when I started watching F1 in the 90s, I was a Marcus Schumacher fan, and I was obsessed with him. And I had a slight obsession with his brother Ralph. That's actually why. Like, I know he wasn't the best driver, but I just became a little bit obsessed with the underdog. But then, Lewis came in, and then I became a Lewis fan. But I did like Mercedes. But now, consistently giving us a crap car, consistently being rubbish, consistently effing up strategies, pit stops. Like, I don't support you anymore. Sorry. Like, I don't even wear my Mercedes stuff anymore. Like, I just can't. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, usually like on the pod, we basically have like a team that we've decided that we're going to support for that season. So last season I was Ferrari, and the season before actually, but again I got so hurt that this season I decided to change to McLaren, and I'll back the team that I choose regardless. But we all
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it could be going back to Ferrari. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'll I'm all about the underdogs. So I will support the team regardless, but it's probably going back to Ferrari. And mine was mainly just because of the history of the car. I remember like when we first started, like Anita was definitely like all over Red Bull. Simone was all over Mercedes. And I don't get me wrong, I was a massive fan of Red Bull as well at the time. But I feel like for me, Ferrari was it was more about just the history of the car and just the history of like Ferrari. That's why I support them, because I wanted them to have a comeback. I wanted them to be the same Ferrari they were when like our parents and grandparents were watching it.
And it could happen again. I mean, everything in cycles, and as long as Ferrari are in there, they've got an opportunity to kind of be that again. So hopefully next year, I feel like Lewis and Charles is just going to be a winning combination. I really can't wait to see it. I was as soon as Lewis announced that, or well, it was leaked and Lewis was forced to announce it. But like as soon as that happened, I was just like, yeah, I'm here for it. I was happy with the decision regardless. I'm a Mercedes fan because I'm a Lewis fan. I'm not a Mercedes fan because I like Mercedes.
Absolutely.
So I will be a Mercedes fan as long as Lewis is there. And I don't know if I can be a Ferrari fan just because I've never been a Ferrari fan, and I'm not a bandwagon jumper in that way. Like I feel like I've been into Formula One for long enough where I've supported Lewis, because I used to support McLaren. Just as a team, I used to be a McLaren supporter, and I supported Lewis from when he was in McLaren, and then I was kind of happy to transition with him very slowly because I still did support McLaren for a while, and I stopped supporting McLaren because of the way that they treated their drivers, not because Lewis moved to Mercedes. So I then kind of became a floating, like kind of like what you're saying now with you, Chanise, like you support who you support, and you're not really like super onto one. And that was kind of me for a couple of years. And then eventually, just because I supported Lewis, I ended up becoming a Mercedes fan, I'd say around 2020. When especially like I think because he was doing a lot of the activism and everything. So it was easy for me to really support the driver because I wasn't affiliated with a team. But like, yeah, I don't know if I can fully go like to Foci next year. But I will definitely. I've always loved Charles and Carlos. Like I've always felt like, actually I've said a few times over the last few years that Ferrari have the best driver combo in my opinion. So yeah, I'm happy to kind of like go to support them, but not necessarily be like a Tifosi next year.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I feel like that's kind of how I ended up supporting McLaren this year because I really loved Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. I was like, oh, well, I don't want to support Ferrari at the moment because I've been hurt and I've been cussed out on this podcast too many times by, oh, well, your team's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And now I've decided, okay, fine, well, I love Oscar Piastri and I love Lando Norris. So I'll support McLaren for this season and see what's going on for Ferrari. But I think I'm going to have to go back to Ferrari next year because, I mean, Charles Leclerc, man. I mean, obviously I'm a Lewis fan. That's always going to be a given, but I don't know why I'm such a big fan of him because like he hasn't been doing like amazingly well. Like last year he was okay and the season was okay, but I don't know what it is. But I think that's it. I think I was just waiting for him to have that moment with someone, and I didn't mind him with Carlos, but I do think him and Lewis. I think you're right. It's that combination that's going to be the ticket.
I hope so. I hope
What do you
so.
think, Simone?
Pardon?
What do you think like about Lewis and Charles together?
I don't know, At first I was like, yeah, this can work. But then I'm like, I don't know if I'm fully convinced. But I don't know if I'm fully convinced. I don't know whether, probably ask me this again, probably like halfway through the season, but I don't know whether it might have been a better decision to keep Carlos. I know it's controversial. I'm just saying. I just don't know.
Do you think? Go on, Chanise.
I was going to say, I think it was Simone and Anita actually who initially made me think actually, yeah, I think Lewis and Charles were going to be a good combo because I remember saying I can't remember what I said, but I remember you guys being like, actually Charles Leclerc is going to learn from Lewis. He's going to love having Lewis as a number one driver. He's going to love learning from that and being in the team and blah blah blah. And that's when I thought, oh yeah, actually maybe this combo could work. But I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting about keeping Carlos. I think is Carlos only pushing so hard because he's unemployed next year, though.
No, I think
then he should have been pushing so hard the whole time, then, shouldn't he? Like he should have stepped up.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think we've seen little glimpses of him like doing well like certain points in the season, previous season before. Not many, but I don't know.
I
Do
think
Well,
Charles has always had more of a bozo gene. Like he makes more Charles makes larger mistakes. So I'm thinking Baku driving into the wall. I'm thinking Monaco every year for like 5 years. I'm
like,
thinking
poor,
like
poor kid. Can't win at home. He can't win at home.
You know, like I think Charles's mistakes are more costly and they tend to be bigger. But when he doesn't make a mistake, he has better races. Whereas Carlos makes less mistakes overall. Not saying he doesn't make any mistakes. He definitely has made mistakes and like has DNF'd and everything. But he's also had a lot of like DNSs or like, you know, mechanical issues and stuff like that. And I think generally he's a more consistent driver when it comes to driver error. And I think, but he's just not as fast and he's not as you know, raw talent. So because of that, he reminds me of like Carlos reminds me of the kid in your class that would consistently get B's because they tried really, really hard, but they just never could get A's.
That is so sad.
It is, but it's the truth.
So sad.
Wow.
I remember being that kid in some
Harry
subjects.
said,
I remember
Carlos is a B
feeling
grade
so
student.
bad about it. Imagine being that person who works their blooming ass off and can't achieve what they deserve to achieve. What an awful
It's just
feeling.
it really is, and it's so terrible. And it's even worse because Charles probably seems like that kid that gets A's and doesn't really try.
Oh, they're the worst.
So yeah, I don't know. I just think because of that whole Charles gets more A's and Carlos is more of a consistent B guy, it makes more sense to go for Charles. But as a combination, winning combination, I love the two of them, both of them equally.
Okay.
And
That's
roll
enough.
on, Lewis,
That's
that's
enough
what
on
I
the-
say.
Pardon?
So roll on, Lewis. That's what I say.
I know, we can't wait for 2025.
2025. You know what my boyfriend was complaining about today? He was like, what I don't get with this season is everyone's already like sick of it. Everybody's already waiting for next year. So what the hell are we doing this season? Obviously, we've got to do the season, but he's like, what is the point? Everyone already knows Max is going to win everything. Everybody knows Perez is going to try and be second. What is the point? I'm like, well, no, I know that, but we've still got to keep up some hype. You know, we've still got to be excited for next year, and you know, think that they're the true F1 fans, right? Everybody else, normal society is like, this is a load of rubbish. Why are you guys watching and supporting this when you already know who's going to win?
I think the drama's going to get to the end of the season. The drama's going to pick up because the stakes are going to be higher, and
exactly,
regardless of who wins the championship, I think there's some dodgy stuff that's going to go down on track. People are going to have to start like, you know, Carlos has got to get a seat somehow.
Exactly. And don't forget, there's a lot of drivers that are out of contract soon. So there's gonna be some people that are like, remember me, like, don't forget me. Paris, while you're here, where do you think Paris is gonna go, or do you think he's gonna stay at Red Bull?
I think if Red Bull was smart, they'd keep Paris.
Oh, really? Why?
I think if Red Bull was smart, they would keep Paris because he's second in the championship and has been second in the championship. He kind of knows his place now. He's almost on Bottas level of acceptance, but he hasn't quite got there yet. And
that's so funny.
Quite frankly, if you want Max to be your champion forever and ever and ever, what people don't realize is Max is such a chill guy. This guy does not like competition. This guy does not like, he wants to sit there and race his car. He wants to, have you not heard him when he says, no, I like being at the front. I like when no one's in front of me. I like when I don't, like, Lewis is like, no, I want to chase. He doesn't want traffic. Lewis is like, I want to chase someone down. I want to battle. I want the competition. Max is like, competition where? I'm living my best life at the front, not worrying about nothing. And
it's princess life.
He loves the princess life. Max loves soft life, right? If you rock Max's boat, that guy is going to run from F1 faster than you can say media training. Let me put you in front of a camera. And there's nothing that man hates more than frigging being in front of a camera and having to do interviews and podcasts and media and all that kind of stuff.
He hates it still.
than if you give him competition. Give him competition, I'm telling you, he's gone. As in competition in his car, in his team. So I think if Red Bull was smart, they would keep Perez. As long as he is willing to be number 2, keep him.
Maybe that's why they have kept him, because everyone thought he was going to be gone this season, but maybe that's why they have kept him, because they know that.
You know what, Paris? Bring on Alonso. That's what I say. I'm on it now. Max doesn't want competition. Give you Alonso then. Give you Alonso. See how you deal with him.
Yeah, there is nobody else on this good. I'm just looking now who would give him the same amount of competition as Fernando Alonso.
It would be like 2 bulls in a china shop.
Yeah.
I would love it. Can we also just, for like 1 second before, I can feel you guys wanted to wrap this up, yeah, but just because you said that you're supporting McLaren and you love Oscar, what do you guys think of Lando? Because today he overtook, who did he overtake today? He overtook
George was brilliant. I wrote down
George.
Yeah,
yes.
I wrote that down actually as one of my notes. I was literally clapping. I was like, oh my God, lap 28, Lando Norris overtook George, brilliant.
I was like, oh shoot, he knows how to overtake people. Because that man literally does not fight for anything. He is so, like, I don't know, I've never seen, I could not imagine. No, I think he's such a dry driver, and I think he is overhyped. And I cannot imagine him truly up there with like Charles and Max. Like, you know, the way they kind of always tout it as a 3-way thing between like that general, or a 4-way thing, like if you include George as well. I don't even think
they
it's
go
that.
out together.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I don't think he has the chops. I've said this a lot. I don't think he has the chops. I think he's a good driver and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't really like fight for it ever. So it was nice to see him overtake for once.
I think that is really valid, because I feel like I'm always like sticking up for Lando, but as Simone and Anita rightly pointed out many a time, he's not fighting, blah, blah, blah. But I think for me, it's like, you know, when sometimes you see those glimpses of hope and you're like today, for example, you know, when he overtook George, it's the same thing with Carlos Sainz for me. You see those glimpses, you see him bring that big dog energy out, and sometimes Lando gets that, but I don't know whether he's now just starting to get a bit tired, which is really sad, because at first anyway, I did really like him as a driver, actually. I think mainly because I liked his personality as well. I just thought he was a decent human being, which always sways me. But yeah, more recently, I think, you know, especially when Oscar won like a sprint and stuff, more recently, I think he's a bit less pushing on the grid. I don't know what it is. Is it because he's locked in a contract for a while? I don't know. Was it because of that? I don't know. But I do think I'd like to see him push a bit harder, because I did think this season was going to be that. I did think he was going to like start getting on some, you know,
yeah, you need to win a race now, babe. You need to win win a race.
But I mean,
I think it would be really funny if he never wins a race.
You're so bad. You came on here and you suggested Alonso to oh my God, to Red Bull. Lance,
I love that Paris here for the chaos.
Lando.
She's here for the drama, she's here for the chaos, and I am here for that.
I love it.
I feel I could just see him being the next Hulkenberg, like being in. He's got this eternity contract, and I can just see him like never winning a race, and I think that would just be hilarious.
I think as long as Max is in a Red Bull, then there's not going to be many people who win races, and that's why I don't mind Lando not winning a race, but him coming like second is a big one for me. I'm okay with him not winning a race. I understand that. I don't know if you guys can hear this cat in the background, but
I thought it was a baby.
No,
I just heard something, but anyhow.
One of the cats is howling. So I can't stop it. Oh, okay, she stopped. Yeah, so if he comes second, I'm okay with that. That is a win for me. If anyone comes second against Max, it's a win for me.
But you can't be content with coming second, and let's not forget, Lando's actually had opportunities to actually win a race before. It's not like he's never had an opportunity to win. And I think Oscar is definitely one to give him a run for his money. Like Oscar's one to test him now. Like I mean, like me and Nita have said previously, he may have won a sprint race, but he still won a race. Okay, it may have been a sprint, but he still won. And I think you've seen glimpses of Oscar like, wow, this Donny can strategically do what he's gonna
I
do.
think Oscar, I think if Lando is not careful and if he doesn't get his chops together real quick, Oscar's gonna surpass him next year easily. I think Oscar's very close to him off too often. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not miles and miles apart. Like you cannot honestly wholeheartedly say that Lando is so far ahead of Oscar. He isn't. Like they're
No.
quite close. He is still ahead of Oscar. He is still a better driver than Oscar currently. But give Oscar a couple of years of experience, that's not going to last very long.
Exactly, because he's not a rookie anymore. He's not coming in there fresh, like this is my first season in Formula One. Like he's gonna show him, what he can do. And I think even today I think McLaren had a realization, well, we're not as fast as we thought we could be. Definitely. And you know what made me laugh actually before we go is Red Bull had an upgrade. And I don't know why they had an upgrade because your car is already fast. So you've upgraded a faster car, but the thing is, what is the benefit of this? Because you are actually the fastest car on the track, and you're so far in front. Like you say, Max isn't battling anybody. He's driving by himself. He's not actually racing. He's just driving at this point. Like he's not racing against anyone. Because to be a race, surely you have to race against other people. But it's just him out by himself.
Not even
Agreed.
Perez.
But I think the benefit to them is records. They're winning races and they're beating records. So that having fastest lap, for example, on every track of the season, that's a new record. Obviously, that's not that he hasn't done that yet, but you see what I mean? That I think they're more fighting for records and more like just being the first of this and the fastest of that. And in order to do that, you do have to have an even better car than the fastest car on the grid.
When do they start building next year's car then?
They already started it, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet they already started it. I was watching Ted's Notebook and he was talking to Adrian Newey and he was like, "Oh, like you upgraded your car," but it was like, and even he was like, "I don't understand why. Like your car's like fast. Like what is what benefit is this? Just to be faster than fast?"
But if other people upgrade their car too, it's about putting these measures in place, risk management, mitigation,
Okay. Anyway, our next race is China. And that is April the 19th, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yes. It starts April the 19th, race is on the 21st. So yeah, we've got a couple weeks until our next race, man. So I'm excited to see what China brings.
We haven't seen it in 4 years, because of COVID. I'm hyped. I'm really excited about this. We haven't seen it in years.
I want to see the costumes.
2019?
Pardon?
I think 2019.
Yeah, literally.
I'm excited. Like I said, I want to see the costumes. This is Zoe's home race, so I'm not expecting great things. I'm not expecting you to be in the points or anything, but I'm just saying it's your home race.
Imagine if we did get like a podium or something. Oh my God.
Do you know what would have to happen for that to happen? Multiple cars would have to crash out, like multiple cars.
It's happened though.
You took the thought right out of my head.
But that has happened though before, multiple cars crashing out.
Yeah, because of rain, or was it a red flag? I'm trying to think of what race I'm thinking of. Was it Turkey? Or was it China? No, couldn't be China. But multiple things will have to happen, like for this to happen. Like
it's not
both Red Bulls would have to like both
thing.
DNF. Like you'd have to like not be able to like both Red Bulls not starting. Like Ferrari out of it, McLaren out of it. Like for Zoe to even try and get podium, forget it.
It's not impossible.
A lot would have to go wrong, Chanise.
No, I know, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's not impossible. It's happened before. Multiple cars crashing out. It's happened before. Max didn't start a couple of weeks, or did, but didn't finish a couple of weeks. Just saying, these things do happen sometimes.
Any predictions for China? Paris, what are yours?
I think it's going to be same old, same old. I think they're going to try and hype it because they're going to say, "Oh, we haven't raced here in so long. Oh, it's a sprint race weekend. Oh, it's the first, some of these drivers have never driven on this track, blah, 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 blah." It's going to be the same old, same old. It's going to be a procession. Might get a few overtakes in the middle. Max is going to win. Perez is going to be second, and it's going to be a Ferrari on the third step.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm optimistic for
Unfortunately.
some drama, for something to shake it up. I don't know what.
You just said, oh, Chanise, multiple things after having cars crashing out, blah, 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 and now you wanted the drama.
Yeah, but I'm not predicting that Zoe's going to get on a podium. That was what you said.
No, I
I'm
wasn't predicting.
thinking-
I was just saying that would be really cool if that did ever happen. You know, if that did happen.
Well, you know what?
Don't you miss Nicholas Latifi sometimes?
What did you just say? You say you miss him?
I said, don't you miss Nicholas Latifi sometimes? He brought the
I don't
drama
actually.
every week.
I don't actually. I don't miss Nicholas Latifi. And now you just mentioned that. Do you know where my head just went? 2021. So no, I don't really think about him. I don't really think
Okay,
about
all right. Don't you miss Mazepin sometimes then? Like, you just need someone to crash for no reason.
But Lance Stroll can do that. Daniel
He
Ricciardo can do that.
doesn't do that anymore. He's also not in the same way as Yuki. I don't know why I keep calling Yuki. I don't know why I keep calling Yuki today, because I don't ever do that. But Lance Stroll's pretty solid recently. Like, since he broke his wrist last year, I don't know what happens. These Formula One drivers go into a hospital.
It's
Yeah.
more Alex Albon now who's crashing every week. So
Yeah.
God, I hope that stops though.
Okay.
He showed some chops though, Lance Stroll, like getting into a car after that. That was a bit crazy.
Yeah, because his dad was like, listen, son, you're not going to about to lose me even more money. You get out of this hospital bed, you get in that car, you drive to survive. Okay? Got bills to pay.
Well, no, he's paying
Oh,
his
gosh.
bills. That's the point. It's more that he needs to make sure it's worth him paying the bills.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Is it worth me being here? Right? You had to get in the car. You had no choice. I'm joking. I'm sure he did it, but I'd just like to have that image of Lawrence Stroll standing over Lance's hospital bed, like, you need to get in the car now.
I'm telling you,
No.
Carlos Sainz can get into a car after having an operation. Anyone can.
Yeah,
He's proven it can be done.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened to Daniel Ricciardo, but nothing really came of it, did it? Just saying. Anyway, guys, it has been fun. Paris, it's been so lovely to have you on this episode, and hopefully
It's
you'll come
been
back.
so nice being here. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
No worries. It is time for us to wave our checkered flag, and we will see you at the China race. And it starts at 8 a.m., which is 2 hours earlier. No, 2 hours later than the one in Japan this weekend. So it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.